Yes, members, good morning once again. This is Math in Motion. Track Annual is the name, and it's your math tutor. Today we'll come back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about a sample question, a revision question about the national accounting and income analysis. As I promised you before, this is a sample question I have for you today. Question is saying, given the table below showing the production of wheat and corn, GDP, gross domestic output of wheat and corn value at gate is 310 and 8500. Taxes on wheat and corn is 10% and 12% of the farm gate cost. Subsidy on wheat and corn is 8 and 20 respectively. Transport margin is 6 and 13 and 130. Yes, it is 6 and 130 on wheat and corn. Now 4,000 worth of wheat and 8,000, sorry, 400 worth of corn and 800 worth of 4,000 worth of wheat and 800 worth of corn is the intermediate consumption. Yet imports is comprised of 5% and 8% of the farm gate value, while 15 and 55 worth of wheat and corn are exports. We are required to compute the following. First of all, estimate the value of supply of wheat and corn at basic price. We compute the total supply of wheat and corn at purchaser's price. Then obtain the final demand of wheat and corn at purchaser's price. Then compute GDP of wheat and corn at purchaser's price. Lastly, we shall need to also have the final demand. The final demand, if the final demand is consumed by exports and households only, compute the final household consumption of wheat and corn. Yes, members, as I said, that we shall be going through some questions about national accounting up to when we shall be fine with it. Today, I think this question will enable us have the use of the supply and use table, as we know. Now, members, I think because I need space, let me just summarize the question somewhere, and then we shall be answering these questions as we go ahead. Members, I think I can pause and then first copy a question, and then we see how we can go ahead. Yes, members, if I put off this question, I just need the space, and then we shall see how we go about it. Yes, members, if you have the summary of the question, the question wants a summary, and the summary of the question is going to be like we are producing. Remember, we are producing wheat. We are producing wheat and corn. We are producing wheat and corn. We have, they said our GDP at the GDP at the farm gate is 310 and 8500 respectively. They said our taxes are going to be 10% of this value and then 12% of this value. And then they said have subsidy on wheat. The subsidy on wheat is going to be 8%. So it's going to be 8 and 20 respectively. Then transport margin. The transport margin is going to be, we said 6 and the transport is 15 and 65 respectively. Then trade margin. The trade margin is going to be, it said it is 6 and 130. Yes, and then intermediate consumption. Consumption is 40. Sorry, 40, 400. It's 400 and 800 respectively. Then imports is going to be 5% of our GDP and then 8% of our GDP. And then lastly, exports. Our exports are 15 and 55. Just this is the summary of the question. And then our question now comes in. Members, before we start, I want to first make some clarification on the video I made before. Like the video about the input output analysis. we made some mistakes somewhere. I think some members observed it, and they even have a comment in the comment section. We say that our DP, domestic product, the same as having final demand, yes, minus intermediate inputs, minus intermediate inputs, not inputs. Yes, that's the question I want to make. And lastly, on the difference between while we are finding the change in the change in gross output, like on the last number, we had to subtract the new output minus the old output. I remember now the change in value I had, it was the first two values were fine, but now the last two values, as on the final answer, these two values were in the answers that we had to get, because I didn't subtract this new value minus the old value. Can check and subtract properly, you have to get the new values here, which will make our work fine. Yes, now with this correction, I think the previous video is going to be fine with you. Members who saw it, thank you for corrections you made with me, and this is the right thing. Okay, this is the right thing. I'm saying now, for this question we are going to attempt today, it is going to be it is directing us on how to apply the supply and use table. Members, remember the supply table. The supply table. What's a supply table? Supply table is a table where it says supply table. The table showing us total supply of commodities in an economy. Yes, supply table comprises of intermediate use, inputs, and it has only two parts. They are saying supply table. We have two parts. We have only the part of intermediate consumption, and then inputs. And then from this supply table, we get to know that if we want to get the total supply, I think you remember that table, the way it looks. Total supply at basic price, we just need to add total supply at basic price. We just need to add the GDP. I'm saying, yes, it contains, sorry, yes, it contains intermediate and then inputs. We just need to add total supply at basic price. Just need to add total supply, which is what produced within the country, plus imports. So total industry, yes, total industry plus the imports. And then if you want to get the total supply at purchaser's price, you just need to have the total supply at basic price we add taxes, less subsidies, and then we add shall add our trade and transport margins, like that, just as simple as that. I think we call this table the supply table. Now the use table, for it contains, it shows goods available in the market for use. That's generally the use table. And the use table is contained of now. The use table has now have three parts. It has intermediate consumption. It has final demand, and then it has value added. I think you remember GDP at value added. GDP at value added. This is our use table. Now for the use table, the formula we need from there, you just need to know that total supply at purchaser's price, equals to intermediate consumption plus final demand. And then we are going to use this table, we are going to use this formula to calculate our answers in our question in the next questions. Now, members, I think let us go straight to our question. Our first question is saying we estimate the value of supply of wheat and corn at basic price. Yes, remember the one that's fine. The first question is saying has to find the total supply of wheat and corn at basic price. Supply part A of wheat and corn at basic price. Now we have said from our supply table, total supply of wheat and corn at basic price equals to total industry, what is produced within the industry, plus imports. Therefore, we just need to have the GDP. GDP means gross domestic product. What the total output produced within the economy, GDP plus imports. And then you say for wheat, it's going to be GDP for wheat is 310 plus imports. Imports is going to be said imports 5% of the GDP. So it should be 0.05 into 310. And then we shall have our answer as 325.5. I think members should have the same answers. That is my answer. Then for corn likewise is going to be 8500 plus imports, which is 8% of this value, 0.08 of 8500. And then this is going to be our answer is going to be 9180. That's going to be our answer. I think members for that is fine. I'm getting this supply of wheat and corn at basic price from the supply table where we say the same as having total industry plus imports. Total industry is what is produced within the industry, which is our GDP at the basic price, plus imports. Yes. Part B, want to find. Part B wants us to find total supply of wheat and total supply of wheat and corn at purchaser's price. Now, for this part, we said at purchaser's price equals to shall have our total industry, total supply at basic price, total supply at basic price. Yes. We add taxes, less subsidies, less subsidy. Yes. Now we add transport margins plus trade margins. I think that formula is fine. This formula we get it also from the supply table. I think if you try to follow up, you will see the formula where I've get it from. Now for wheat, it's going to be total supply for wheat is going to be 325.5 from this first question we have here, plus taxes. Taxes, we say taxes are 10% of this value, going to be 10%, 0.1 into 310 minus subsidy. Subsidy for wheat is 8 minus 8. Now plus transport margin. Say transport margin for wheat is 15. Yes, plus 15. And then plus the trade margin, which is 6, plus 6. What's the answer? The answer is going to be, if you add the whole of this, you're going to have your answer as 369.5. Yes. This is our answer. And then for corn, it's going to be, again, our total supply at basic price is going to be 9180 plus the tax, which is 12%, 0.12 of 8500 minus the subsidy, which is 20, plus the transport margin is 65, and then plus lastly the trade margin, which is 130, and then our answer is going to be what? Our answer for my question, I have 10375. This is my answer. I think members should also have the same answers. Now, for this, we're getting them from the supply table, as simple as that. You just need to master the formulas, and then you are able to go ahead. Now, for the third part, let us also have this. I think you're okay with this. I can put off them off. If I have now for the third question, the third question, they want us to find what do they want us to find? Obtain the final demand for wheat and corn at purchaser's price. They want us to find part C, obtain final demand at purchaser's price. Remember, we said final demand and purchaser's price. We get it from the formula, from the use table where I have set the supply at purchaser's price equals to intermediate consumption plus final demand. Now, from this formula, we shall be able to have the final demand since we have intermediate consumption in our question, and then we have total supply at purchaser's price, which we have got as this value and this value. Now, say for wheat, we shall have the final demand now. Okay, now likewise, final demand equals to total supply minus the net consumption. Now, for wheat, we shall have our final demand, which equals to, if I bring this on this side, I'll have total supply minus the net consumption. Our total supply is 369.5 minus the net consumption, which is 400. Yes, this is 400. Like that. Then you shall have the answer there. And then for corn is going to be, for corn we shall have, yes, I'm saying for corn is going to be now the net consumption, final demand is going to be this value we have here, which is 10375 minus intermediate consumption, which is 800. Yes, now we have our answers. As let me have the calculator, and we see to have the same answers. We have 369.5 minus 400 is going to be, I think members, sorry for corrections. Now question, this the net consumption wasn't 400. It is 40. Let's have a 40 here. It's a 40, yes? Let us change a 40 to intermediate consumption, make it a 40, not 400. Yes, for us to have a nice answer. It is 40. Like, also change the question, it is 40, not 400. Yes, if you have that value 369.5 minus 40, we shall have our answer as 329.5. And then here we shall have our answer as 959575. I'm saying, remember, let us change the intermediate consumption to 40 here so as to have a nice answer. And then, like for that part, now we are done. I'm saying, remember, these things are simpler if we try to master the formula, and then everything is just substitution. And then, second last, we said let us talk about now. They say our question is saying, compute the GDP of wheat and corn at purchaser's price. Let us not find GDP at purchaser's price. Now we say GDP is what is produced within the economy domestically. Therefore, shall we ignore imports? Therefore, GDP at purchaser's price is the same as having the GDP. Yes, the same as having GDP at purchaser's price, the same as having domestic product. Yes, shall have just the domestic product, not GDP. Shall have domestic product. Yes, we shall have our domestic product. Our same as having our domestic products, GDP, what is produced within the country, plus taxes minus subsidies. This is the formula. Now shall have for wheat. So just need to have our 3 is the same as having 310 plus the taxes, which is 10%, 0.1 of 310 minus subsidy, which is 8. Then shall have our answer. Likewise for corn, just need to have 8500 plus the tax minus plus taxes, which is going to be 0.1 2 into 8500 minus the subsidy, which is 20, and then we shall have our answers as 333 here. Then here we have 9500, just like that. Remember, just know that at purchasers price we are considering the same as having the market price, where we add subsidies, where we add taxes minus subsidies. Then at factor cost or basic price, we subtract taxes and then we add subsidies. Then this is going to be our beautiful answer. Lastly, we shall just, I think for last, because I need to use these two values. Let me just put off this GDP. I think we here we are together. We are finished copying this, and then let us now use the GDP now. Let us use this part. Now they are saying that for the last part, part E, they have said part E is saying if the final demand is consumed, if final demand is consumed by imports, by exports and household, I think final demand equals to exports plus household consumption only. Not us to find now household consumption, find household consumption of wheat and corn respectively. Not us find household consumption of wheat and corn respectively. Therefore, household consumption equals to final demand minus exports, just as easy as that. Now we find for wheat is going to be what? Final demand for wheat is going to be this one, 329.5 minus exports. So exports is 15, and then for corn is going to be, our final demand is going to be 9575 minus export, which is 55, and then you have the answers. What's the answers there? 329.5 minus 15 is going to be 314.5, like that. And then 9575 minus 55 is going to be 9520, something like that. And by that, we shall have concluded our question. I think, members, things are fine right now. Just what we have to know is master formulas, and I think things will be okay. For the supply table, we said supply table shows total supply of commodities or goods and services in the market, and then the use table shows us commodities available for use in the market, where we use the supply table to find total industry, which is GDP. We said for us to have total supply at best price, just need to have total supply, like total industry plus imports. Then for us to have total supply at best at purchasers price, we just need to have total supply at best price plus taxes less subsidies, then plus trade and the transport margins. And then for this use table, we just say that use table is comprised of 3 sections: intermediate consumption, final demand, and value added. And then for us to have the total industry, so for us to have total supply purchasers price using the use table, we just need to have total intermediate consumption minus final demand. I think, members, for this part, everything is fine. Members, thank you for subscribing, sharing, and comment for the videos. But members, we need to push this channel because I need to be monetized soon. It's you members who are letting me down. Members, not letting me down. Let us view the videos, share the links to colleagues, and then we see how we can go up to where we want to be. Members, this is just a sample question. Shall be having more of this as we go ahead with our discussions. Yes, I think for this question it is fine. I said in the previous video we made a mistake of, we said DP, domestic product, we find it using final demand minus intermediate imports, not inputs. And then lastly we say that on our change in output, gross output, for the last question, that's the last question, we just need to have those values. Now go back and just subtract properly. The new gross output we had minus the old, you have the same value. You have some different values on the two last entries we had into our matrix. Members, thank you for watching. This is Shaka Annual, your math tutor. Keep subscribing. Just hit the subscription button. Share the videos to many as you can, and just know shall be fine. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day.